You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to episode number 108 of the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast. My name is Kevin, and joining me for this very special contest results roundtable edition of the podcast is Chris and the Bolt. Hey guys,
there.
how you doing?
Hello, good.
It's a very smiley answer, Bolt.
Yeah, it was. You were very smiley.
I'm just being positive.
You're just happy to be here.
I can't wait to find out who won the contest.
Neither can I, because we don't know yet. We're gonna hear the results and then
I know.
decide. Yeah, there's some good stuff coming. Good stuff coming.
I suspect.
There's a couple that are in the lead right now amongst the office, so we'll see by the end of the episode where things lie. So everything else going well?
Very well. I spent a week in Memphis for the International Folk Alliance Festival. That was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of great CD Baby bands, and then a lot of bands that for some reason aren't on CD Baby who should be.
Weird. Yes, they should be. Please sign up with CD Baby. My band, Hello Morning, our new album is officially released. We had our album release show over the weekend, last weekend.
I was there.
Yes, you were. We drug you out of your cave in order to go to a show. But yeah, it's on CD Baby. Just go to cdbaby.com/hellomorning. You can check it out, or just hellomorningband.com, and you can stream the whole thing there if you want to hear what I've spent the last 9 months working on.
You had the whole marketing department in attendance.
I did.
Host Baby marketing, CD Baby marketing.
That's the only people I knew that came.
Chad, our tech manager, was there.
Yeah, for Host Baby, yeah.
I every once in a while mention on the podcast that I'm trying to put an album together, and I'm actually made some headway. I just got it mastered. So my band, Nervous and the Kid, will hopefully have an album in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Don't hold me to it yet. We still got to get the artwork done.
Before 2012.
Before 2012. No. Hopefully
right.
soon.
Well, like we said today, we are going to play all the contest results, play them and read them. We've got email submissions and MP3 submissions and phone calls, so we're going to get to those. But first, we do have an abbreviated news segment because there is some interesting news out there. So let's get to the news. Well, in typical Apple fashion, Steve Jobs took the stage at their special iPad event to announce the new iPad 2. Some of the new features include a front and back camera, a faster processor, and thinner design. One thing that might interest musicians is the new version of GarageBand that is designed to suit the iPad experience. The new iPad 2 is starting at the same price of the original iPad, and that price is $499. Speaking of Apple, there's also a rumor flying around that Apple and the major labels are mulling unlimited downloads of purchased songs to offer consumers unlimited downloads of tracks they have previously purchased from the company's iTunes store. That was reported by Bloomberg, who cited people with knowledge of the plans. Such a deal would essentially provide iTunes customers with a permanent backup of music they have purchased, should it be lost or damaged. It would also more easily enable downloads to an iPod, iPhone, or iPad. Bloomberg sources said that an agreement between Apple and the labels could be announced by mid-year. And in Google Music news, hackers have apparently exposed Google's cloud-based music service. Once the leaked Honeycomb music player is correctly installed on an Android device, users can sync their music libraries to Google servers. Since the service hasn't been made public, they haven't run into any storage limits using the service. Once Google's Music Cloud is officially launched, users will be locked out as there will be a fee to access the service, but for now, they can enjoy their new remote streaming capabilities. Reports say that Google's service is months away from release. And those are the headlines that I found.
I have an idea.
What's that?
And the world is welcome to it. a band or an artist should be the first to record, write, demo, record an album on the iPad, do the artwork on the iPad, upload it to CD Baby from the iPad, manage your website from the iPad, get us to send it to iTunes, and then Apple will love you and they'll give you lots of promotion.
That is a great idea.
Do everything
Somebody's
you can.
already made an album on the iPad, but
Really?
yeah, the guy from Gorillaz,
Oh, Damon Albarn.
he apparently produced last album on the iPad only.
Wow.
There's lots of software available or apps for the iPad that allow you to record, but he didn't upload it to CD Baby from the iPad. So we
Yeah,
need somebody
the
to
first one.
be. We're assuming
do
that somebody hasn't already done that. I'm sure somebody has.
Maybe
Right,
so.
right.
You got to do the artwork on it, everything.
Well, I mean, the iPad is definitely something to watch. It speaks to the future of media distribution and how music and movies and YouTube and everything else is going to be experienced. So, as a content provider, as a musician, I think that it's really interesting to watch the iPad, whether you have one or not.
Yeah, to me, like I said, when it first came out, I was like, we'll see how it goes. But my wife has one now, and she absolutely loves it, and I totally get the fascination with it. It's an amazing interactive experience. But the thing, with the GarageBand that they're releasing for it, I don't think, it's necessarily going to be this amazing production tool. I think it is going to be a really cool songwriting tool. But the thing that I think it's most interesting about it is that they have a lot of virtual instruments that people will be able to play and even record with that I'm more interested in, letting my daughters mess around with and kind of learn music with those kind of tools. And I think that'll be a fun music device for people to play with.
Well, it's so amazing, I mean, you're probably your average 4-track out there is going to run around $300. It seems like musicians are going to start making that choice, like, oh, I can get a 4-track, a digital 4-track for a couple $100, or I could pay a couple $100 more and get an iPad that does everything.
Right. You could even film your music video on it.
Yeah,
and
it's got the
edit
cameras now. Yeah,
you upload it to YouTube.
There you go. The Google Music service is interesting because remember they were saying that it was going to happen before Christmas, and of course it never happened, and it's still debatable whether or not it's really going to happen like, the rumors that are circulating, but I'm sure they're working on something, and I'm curious to see what it is. I don't expect it to have the wow factor like Apple products do. Google products are usually pretty stripped down looking.
They roll them out in beta.
Yeah, they roll them out in beta for 20
And
years.
stay that way, yeah.
and there's not a lot of design elements, and with the music service, I'm curious to see what they do because I think they need to step it up a bit in order to make it.
And it's
catch
interesting. Google's been doing a lot more advertising, at least in this neck of the woods, with their Places service, and things have been looking a little more designed and a little more slick in some of those services. I wonder if they won't try to be a little bit more polished with the music service.
Yeah. We'll see. So who knows if it's really coming? It may be, it may not be. Apparently some hackers found it. Also on the rumor mill is, iTunes possibly letting people download their stuff, the stuff they've purchased over and over again. I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking that'd be a big issue for piracy, and I'm sure that that can kind of be seen as aiding pirates, music pirates. I just had this vision of like the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean running around with CDs or something. But at the same time, I highly doubt that the average person who's buying music from iTunes is the one really spreading around content. I don't know.
I mean, the thing for me is, like, I had this album I really liked on iTunes. I somehow deleted it, and I contacted iTunes customer service to try to get it back, and they wanted some sort of purchase receipt number or something like that from me. I wasn't able to provide it. We went back and forth forever, and in the end, I bought the album again.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crap because they know what you've purchased.
They should have
your
a history somewhere.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, your account history would be attached to it. And so that's what's kind of, I think this is the solution for that. I mean, long term, when you think about these music services, I think they need to get people to feel comfortable just completely using them for their sole means of providing music, whether it's Rhapsody, whether it's iTunes, whether it's here buying CDs from CD Baby. I mean, people, I think, still lean towards towards CDs because it's still a majority of the market. It's shrinking, but it's still, in general, the majority of the market because they know that that's going to be there. Where, like, using iTunes, it's like, I always wonder, well, is iTunes really going to be here in 10 years? Am I going to have to rebuy all this crap, that I bought?
Imagine how many hard drives crash every year and people are just lose thousands of dollars of music and go pounding on Apple's door and they're like, sorry.
Yeah, and even worse when some subscription services have gone under and people have paid a lot of money into that and no longer have access. So
yeah.
I think that's trying to address this issue, and I think it's a good move for Apple. All right, well, we've got lots of entries into the contest. I was impressed. Like I said, a lot of people that listen to the podcast are typically a couple episodes behind, and especially when we get irregular with releasing them. But you guys started submitting entries right away, and we thought we might have the problem of having 2 submissions and trying to figure out how to make a whole show around that. But we got a lot of submissions, and we're going to read some of them and listen to some of them, and then decide.
Just for dramatic effect, did you say what the prize is?
Yeah, the prize, as mentioned in the previous episode, is we're going to give away a 50 CD CDR duplication package that will include full color printing on the CDs and the packaging. And I believe it's a digipack. I'm going to have to double check that. It might just be standard, but it's full color printing and everything. Distribution through CD Baby for that album. And then for the runners-up, we got a couple podcast T-shirts here. We'll give away those to the people that we feel are second and third place, and we'll throw in distribution through CD Baby to get your album on iTunes and sell your CDs here through us and sell downloads through us. And then for some runner-ups, we'll probably throw in just the distribution. And then everyone who submitted something, we're going to give you a discount to sign up your album on CD Baby. So for some of the people that called, if you called and didn't leave your information, just email again and say, hey, I left this phone call, and I'll send you the coupon code you need to get what discounted percentage should we do for those folks?
I don't know, 30%?
30%. We'll do 30%. Sold. 30% discount on an album submission. So that's a good deal just for participating. All the people who emailed, we have your email, but if you called, some people didn't leave information, so I was going to have to hunt you down anyway, so go ahead and email us. So that being said, let's get into the stories. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
All right. So say the person's name and then go for it.
All right. This one, Michael Fitzgerald, and I think it's worth reading the whole email. So
okay.
This is Michael speaking. The Mesmers Unintentional Big Gay Review.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from Michael. Our band uses a very small black recording system to capture every show we play so we can listen back and check our performances. A few years back, we played a gay bar in Virginia, and as per our usual, set out the recorder to capture the show. The gig went great, the audience liked us, and we sold a bunch of merch. We packed up and went home. Next week, we listened back to the show. Oh my God. Apparently, a group of particularly flamboyant patrons had sat right next to the recorder without noticing it and proceeded to give a play-by-play commentary of our entire show. It was hysterical. RuPaul meets American Idol session, as they discussed everything from our music to our shoes to how one band member's nipples were visible through his shirt. They also obsessed over who might be gay in the band, and after a long, catty discussion decided it was our drummer, a fact that his wife has never let him forget. By the time we were done listening to the recording, our faces were hurting from laughing so much. Let me tell you, nothing puts your music career into perspective like 3 sharp-tongued queens laying out their unvarnished opinions. This is one of our favorite recordings, and our only regret is we have no idea who those guys were. We'd love to thank them for helping to make the best live show recording ever.
That's awesome.
Fitz of the Mesmers.
That was really great. I hope they post it on their website.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It reminds me of a Seinfeld episode where Jerry's recording his act, and Elaine sees it back there and just does this whole like sexy voice, like, and Jerry doesn't know it's her, and he's just obsessed with finding out who this woman is. All right, that was a good one.
I like that one.
I can't wait to hear what comes next. We've got, let's go to a phone call for the next one. So this is a phone call that somebody sent in. They even did their own little production of it in GarageBand. So it's almost like a podcast within the podcast. So
meta.
Check it out.
Hi, I'm Stevie Z, founder of Badly Bent Records, passable songwriter, and barely adequate guitar player at best. This is a cautionary tale, and more of a career misstep than anything. Probably one of the most educational and embarrassing moments of my life, however. Let me give you the lesson of the story right off the bat. When you plug your guitar in, run the cable up and around your guitar strap and then in, not just directly into the jack. I was living for a short time back in my hometown and decided to head down to a local open mic when I discovered the house band was one I used to play with all the time at open mics about 15, 18 years ago or so. I got there early and for some reason drank a lot more beer than I normally do. After several pints, I decided I would use that very night to showcase my amazingly awesome guitar talents and show the old hometown crowd a thing or two. You see, I'm one of those people who thinks the more they drink, the better they get at everything, which is why I don't drink much these days. So I signed up for the open mic and went back to my table for another beer or three. It was then it occurred to me I had no idea what songs I was going to play, as I hadn't really even been playing guitar all much back then and hadn't really rehearsed anything either. Oh well, I thought, when in doubt, 12-bar blues.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands
I was
together
jolted back to reality by the host
for
calling my name,
DZ.
so I weaved my way over to the stage, grabbed the guitar they offered, plugged it in, cranked up the volume, and decided I was going to show these people how to rock and roll. Damn Skippy. So we launched into Move It On Over, the George Thorogood-ish version, and it was going pretty well at first. The first guitar break was taken by the house band guitar player, who incidentally is very, very good, and I motioned that I was going to take the next break, and thought,
They'd all better hold on to their hats because I was going to blow them away.
So when it came time for the break, I ducked out from behind the mic stand and strutted to the front of the stage. On the process, stepping on the guitar cable and pulling it out of the jack of the guitar. Problem was, I didn't notice that it had happened. The band was very loud, the monitoring was iffy at best, and I was pretty hammered. So I didn't even realize there was no sound coming out of the guitar. So I proceeded to play the best guitar solo ever. If Stevie Ray Vaughan, Hendrix, and Rory Gallagher had been on that stage at that time, I was convinced they would have all bowed down to my prowess. I even got so into the moment, I put one foot on the front monitor in classic rock-out position as I played, and I never, ever have done that before or since. It was only when I was done, convinced that they would talk about my amazing shredding for years to come, that I turned around and noticed a guitar cable behind me on the stage that wasn't there before. And then I noticed where it had come from. Feeling stupider than I maybe ever have before, and quite possibly since, I went back to the mic, thanked the band, and slurred, "Thanks everyone for coming out, you've been wonderful." Then I handed the guitar back to the host, staggered off the stage, went back to my table, grabbed my coat, paid the bartender, and walked out, all while barely looking up from the floor. And as I loped out the front door and into the winter night, I heard the bouncer call after me, "Way to go, man! That's the best guitar solo I never heard in my life!"
Oh, that's a good one.
That was a good one.
He should have played it off as like a really minimal, kind of theatrical sort of thing.
See,
Yeah.
I don't know how you would go on playing a guitar solo.
Not
Without
knowing
being
that it's there.
Not being able to hear it.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
that's the thing. It's like, well, he was hammered. So
Yeah.
that plays a big part in the story. But yeah. So, yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. It's your turn, Bolton.
All
What do you
right.
got there?
This one is from Neil Fox, and he says, "Here's one story from my long, complicated career. It was in the early 1970s. I got an audition with Columbia Records. Clive Davis was running the company at the time, and there I was, sitting at an upright piano in the conference room at the Black Rock. The room was filled with Columbia execs. I played my first song, and one of the execs said, 'You're on the label. Now just play for our enjoyment.' Wow, I'm on Columbia Records." That night that I signed the contract, I saw on Eyewitness News that they fired Clive Davis from Columbia Records. Everyone that had anything to do with my being on the label left with Clive. I spent 3 years on the label and nothing happened. Finally, they let me out of my contract. A couple of years later, I got an audition with RCA Records. The audition went great. RCA loved the album and had me put a band together to go on the road to promote the album. A few days later, they fired the president of RCA. No road trip, no album promotion. A few years after that, I got a publishing deal with a new up-and-coming publishing company called Infinity Publishing. They signed me up as a staff writer. For one whole year, I wrote songs, and they would try to get them recorded by other artists. Then the whole company folded. That's when I decided to go indie. Thanks for listening, Neil Fox.
Poor soul. Actually, a friend's band had a similar situation where they were signed to this major label, and the A&R guy, he had a vice president position at that label, was their biggest fan, was going to dump all this behind him. Then he got offered a job out of the company to a higher position as in the distribution group under the same EMI, parent company. But he was no longer at the label, and they just got shafted.
Oh, man.
Happens all the time.
So these, basically, I'll summarize. I thought they were all worth noting. This first one's by Roger Duncan, and he played at this gig in Chicago back in the 70s and went real well. And then afterwards, he went to ask the owner for payment, and the guy said, well, I can't pay you. They were like, well, this is how we make our living. Like, how are we going to eat? And the guy said, well, I own a restaurant next door. Why don't we go over there? And they cooked him some steak dinners, and they said, come back tomorrow, I'll pay you. They came back the next day, no money, but they got a steak dinner. Same thing went on for a whole week. Finally, at the end of the week, they got paid, having eaten real well the whole week, and then they were all sad to get paid.
So I'd take a steak dinner.
This next one is by Susanna Reeves, and she basically spent her whole life as a really accomplished singer, piano player, composer. She went to school, got her degree in music, was a music teacher. Everything in her life was based around music. Then one day she had a bilateral pulmonary embolism, which affected her lungs. She couldn't sing anymore, and then went through some hard times. Anyways, the point of the story is about 10 years later, through helping her daughters try and learn to sing along to the radio in the car or something, her lungs regained strength and she's singing again. So, and I think she makes her living, or at least she's active as a composer. So, point of that story, don't give up on your passion. You might have to find a little side stream or something.
I don't know if she's, I think I've heard her music. Either she's emailed the podcast before, or I've heard her music from CD Baby. I can't remember, but I know her name.
Touching emails. It's pretty long, so I didn't read it. But then the last one is by Phil Rohrer, and he was in a folk duo that got asked to play at some, fancy festival gig out in the country of Pennsylvania. So they drive out there and they realize there's no real festival. What it is a guy's front porch at an old rickety shack, and they have like this really makeshift PA set up. And then a bunch of elderly people come and sit on the lawn in their lawn chairs and like seemingly hate the performance. They're not responding to it at all. As they're stomping on the front porch, the mosquitoes are being awakened and attacking them. Anyways, miserable experience. Turns out after they're breaking down, there was a traffic cop directing traffic down the street who waved them over and said, thank you guys so much for playing that set. Really loved your music, and I had a friend that died last week, and this is the first moment of joy I've had since then. And they were like, whoa, that made our whole day. So
that's cool.
Awful gig turns wonderful. So you never know what kind of experience or feedback you'll get from any circumstance, I guess was the lesson of that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about we'll go to a phone call, because you've got two more.
Yeah.
And we'll go to a phone call. This one mentions prayer, so this is a fitting one to come out of.
Hey, my name's Dustin. I'm with a band called Darcy, and of all of the stories that we have, our van story has got to be the best. We're really concerned with social justice and kind of helping people in need, and so we used to loan our van to a single mother when we weren't using it. We loaned our band van to her. Well, one day she, of course, calls us and says that she needs to talk, and we go to her side of town, which is not the good side of town, and she lets us know that the van has been stolen, that a woman that was staying with her took the keys, took her cell phone, and took the van and split. So we called the police. We jumped through all the necessary hoops to make a police record of it, and then kind of in like a last-ditch attempt, she told us a couple of places that this woman might be with our van. So we drove around the town kind of futilely looking for our stolen van. And then after we drove around town all day, we didn't find it. And of course, we went home. But on the way home, we decided to just go for it and pray, God, will you just show us where the van is? So Nathan, the guy driving, kind of gets this notion, man, maybe we should go to this part of town in this sprawling neighborhood. And so we go. we take just a few turns, and then boom, van's right there in front of us. So I have a spare key, so I hop out, jump in the van, drive it off like a madman, laughing into the sunset, and I eat the Snickers bar that the person had left on the dashboard after they stole the van. We stole it back. And then we came to find out a few days later from a very questionable guy named School that the woman who stole the van went and rented it out to a drug dealer for a hit of crack. And the drug dealer went driving around town making drug deliveries in our van. And that's where it was when we found it. She was making a delivery to somebody. And when I stole it back, the drug dealer called this guy named School saying, "Hey, there's some white kid still in this van. Should I call the police?" Needless to say, she did not call the police. And we got away scot-free, stealing our van back. That's the van story.
So there's a heartwarming story for everyone who's had gear stolen.
Hey, should I call the police? I love that.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of a drug deal.
Yeah. Hey, just because you're dealing drugs doesn't mean your property should be stolen.
Right. Your stolen, rented, stolen property.
You said you got two more?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you read one more, Bolton, and then we'll get to one more call, and then we'll go to the final round.
Okay.
All right. This is from Ronnie Marler, who actually sent us a couple of stories. He says, our classic rock band had a falling out with our booking agent. After we let him go, he rebooked the last show that he had booked for us and didn't tell us about it. I went on a 50-mile road trip to scope out the venue in person and discovered that the agent's new client was on the bill and not our band. Now, the town that this bar was in, it was a 2-bar town, one country and one rock. I figured I might as well stop over to the country bar and see if they wanted to host a rock night. The rock bar had been kicking his butt in business lately, so the bar owner agreed to risk a change in genre this weekend. And we spent the next few days on a full-out media blitz, flyers, radio, and newspaper. We hung lights from the rafters and brought in more PA gear than they had ever seen in that place. We had the bar owner worried about his decision with all the equipment that we brought in. But the night of the show, we fired up the dry ice fog machine and rocked the house down. The tables were turned, the rock club across the street was empty, and everyone in town was at the country bar. We put on the show of our lives. The bar owner said, come back any time. And the booking agent, he got fired again.
There you go.
Another good revenge story.
That's right. Ronnie also had a very entertaining story about how they have a female mannequin on stage with them because they're older, middle-aged guys.
Right. I've got one more story from Ronnie as well.
Yeah, he had some good ones. One more phone call to set us up before the final round where we each selected our favorites from our groups.
So very, very much. So for my entertaining career story, I thought I'd tell you about my favorite heckler. I was playing a night at a local bar doing a mix of covers and originals, and it seemed to be going pretty well. Everyone was really into it. But there was one guy who got a few drinks in him, and he decided to get loud. So I started playing Radiohead's great song, Creep. And I started hearing him yelling, just yelling at the top of his lungs. And at first I couldn't tell what he was saying, but every time I'd finish a line, he'd yell out something. Finally, I realized what he was doing. He was disagreeing with the song. When I sang, I'm a weirdo, he'd yell out, nah, man, you're all right. And when I'd sing, I don't belong here, he would yell, but we like you here. And I just thought it was hilarious, and I couldn't finish the song hardly because I was laughing hard at the utter absurdity of an encouraging heckler. Well, that was my entertaining story. If anybody would like to hear my music, I'm at myspace.com/MattCarrollMusic or youtube.com/MattCarrollMusic. Thanks again, guys, for everything you do. Bye.
Thanks for the call, Matt.
Wow.
Sometimes hecklers are, they're just trying to be encouraging and they don't realize how distracting they are.
Just misunderstood.
No, man.
Yeah, okay.
That poor boy
weird.
needed a pick-me-up.
But we like you. That's amazing.
Not creepy at all.
That's funny. All right, so we're headed into the final round.
All right.
Let me explain to the folks what we did here. We took all the emails, I split it between you two, and I took all the calls, and we decided, what we thought was our favorite from each bunch. So then we're gonna listen to them. We're gonna take a minute to deliberate, and then our favorite might have been one in the previous segment, but then we're gonna select the winners. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, we'll save the call for last. So
Okay, this is from Jeff Edgel about a gig. My band, Attaboy, was on our very first tour. At the time, having a lot of energy on stage was often our greatest asset, as our musicianship was still developing. We had just taken the stage and were about to start our first song when I was enlightened with a brilliant idea. I decided that I would run and jump kick off the wall, landing in sync with our opening big hit. The crowd would surely buy every CD we had after I wowed them with my acrobatics, or so I thought. I sprang like a ninja toward the wall, but rather than returning to the stage triumphantly on my feet, my right leg plunged knee-deep through the thin wall. My body proceeded to flail toward the ground as my leg remained in the wall at chest height, and I did everything I could to protect my guitar. I managed to pull my leg out of the wall and continue with the song, only to see my band crying with laughter while they attempted to continue the song. Fortunately, my guitar survived the fall, and my leg had only some minor scrapes from the drywall. The wall, however, had seen better days, and he includes a little photo here of the wall.
yeah, the funny thing is there's a picture of him looking through the hole in the wall.
The irony of it all was that we were a pop rock band playing at a hardcore venue. So in retrospect, I suppose I was just instinctively releasing my inner hardcore spirit. Jeff Edgel. I just love that mental image of him stuck in the wall with his leg.
It was before the first song started.
Yeah,
So
I'm going to
was in
show that.
conjunction with the
Jumps
first
like,
note.
That would have made a great YouTube
the
video.
music hasn't even started.
Yeah, it's for the big down.
What's that guy doing?
Yeah, everybody had to be confused. Oh, that was a good one. All right.
All right,
Bolton.
I'm going to go ahead and read the second one from Ronnie Marlar. He says, it was summer 1982. We rolled into a small town in Idaho and stopped at an old gas station on the outskirts of town. 2 old men playing checkers at a table by the door. Me, hey, old-timer, you tell us where the Winchester Club is? Old man, Winchester Club? You don't want to go there, boy. Bad things happen there. He spits tobacco. Pooh. It spatters at my feet. Mumbles something about young punks. And he goes back to his game. I swear, I heard banjos. The night went well, not as scary as we were led to believe. People danced and hollered and sang. We met some girls and closed the bar down. As we were tearing down and I headed to the John to relieve myself, I found a dead pig, sans head, in one of the stalls. I swear I heard banjos.
Thank you for the dramatic reading of Ronnie Marlar's email.
A dead pig
without
a head.
Without a head.
I'm surprised the body wasn't the thing missing. You would think the head would be there, but
Right.
oh. You wouldn't think the head or the body would be there, but
A
that's
dead
weird.
pig.
He was warned about the Winchester Club.
I know.
Bad things happen there. Maybe
All
it was
right.
some sort of occult sacrifice.
Maybe it was. All right, we've got our final call, and then time to decide on the winner.
Hey guys, it's Ashley from Denton, Texas. I lead a band called Ashley Gatta and the Free People. You can find us at ashleygatta.com. That's Gatta. I have a story for your entertaining music story contest. We play Organic Motown, which is Norah Jones meets Jackson 5, and we've been covering I Want You Back by Jackson 5. And lately, I've been getting a lot of comparisons to a young Michael Jackson that my voice sounds a lot like him. So when I send out my monthly newsletter to all my fans, which has grown to about 1,100 people on this email list. I try to tell a personal anecdote, and also in the subject line, I always want to put something pretty interesting, maybe kind of funny, something that's going to want to make them keep reading. And so I decided that I wanted to tell my fans about this comparison to Michael Jackson that I've been getting, a young Michael Jackson, rather. And so in the subject line, I wrote, Ashley Gaddis E-News, prepubescent Michael Jackson, you say? And I went ahead and talked about the comparison in the body of the email. Click send. Email goes out to about 1,100 people, and here I am sitting there thinking I've sent this nice email out to everyone with this really cute subject line. And my drummer sends me a text, and he says, hey, I just got your E-News, and check out the subject line, it says. And it had read, Ashley Gaddis E-News, pre-pubes, ... So apparently, my subject line was too long, and it cut off the rest of it. So it no longer read, Ashley Gaddis E-News, prepubescent Michael Jackson, you say. It simply read, Ashley Gaddis E-News, pre-pubes. And there's just no returning from that. So I thought about trying to send an apology email, but really there's no hope after that one. So I'm just hoping that they're not offended and that they can have a sense of humor about it, because we had to laugh about it too. Anyways, that is my story. Again, you can find us at ashleygada.com, and you can hear some of that prepubescent Michael Jackson music. Have a good one, you guys. Bye-bye.
All right.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
It just sounds like a different kind of music altogether.
I wonder what the open rate on that email was like.
I wonder how many got shuffled into spam. Mentioning Michael Jackson and prepubescent in the same sentence seems like you're headed towards the spam folder.
Yeah, so that were the submissions. There was a few others. We didn't have time to make it on the show, but we appreciate everyone contributing.
Yeah, it was great. Great to read all these.
Yeah, and we appreciate it, and you guys doing it quickly, because, like I said, sometimes people email us about an episode that's 6 months old. So everyone got on top of it, and there weren't any stragglers either. They made the deadline, and that was it. So
are we going to deliberate?
Yes, we should deliberate. We need some deliberating music.
Does that mean we go out of the room and then we come back in with the verdict?
Yes. So, what do you guys think? All right, the verdict is in. We have deliberated. That actually took longer than I expected, and the results are completely different than I expected.
You know, we actually had to call in a pitch hitter in order to break the tie.
We did. Brad, who is a part of the marketing department here, who's sitting in the room, he was busting up laughing the entire time. So we consulted his opinion to break the tie.
You're welcome.
Should I start with number 3?
Well, let's remind them of what they've won.
Okay. So in third place, third and second place get the same thing. So third place, you get a CD Baby podcast t-shirt, very cool shirt, plus a free album submission at CD Baby, and we'll throw in some podcast stickers and such. Okay, so in third place, we have Steve with the absent guitar solo.
Which is both a great story and an amazing production.
Yes, well told. So, Steve, you have a CD Baby podcast shirt waiting for you and a free album submission at CD Baby. So please email me, info@cdbabypodcast.com.
It pays to make a drunken fool of yourself.
That's right. You never know how that story is going to pay off years from now. So then, coming in at number 2 with the same prize package is Jeff Edgel with the hole in the wall story. That's
the leg through the wall for the downbeat of the concert.
Just for the visual alone, that one had me laughing, and I hadn't pre-read that email, so it struck me as really funny. Jeff, both Jeff and Steve, I'll let you know I have The size options are medium and extra large. And I only have one extra large of the T-shirt. So
battle it out.
whoever emails me first wanting an extra large will get it. But and if it doesn't work out, we'll figure out something else. We'll find something. Then for the first place winner, receiving the 50 CD package, CDR duplication package from CD Baby Duplication, and free album distribution, and we'll throw in some stickers and whatever, and maybe
a lock of Kevin's hair.
Yes. That goes to
Drum roll.
It did.
The winner is Ronnie Marler with the dead pig in the bathroom story.
Yes.
It's a very David Lynch, Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of moment.
Yes. Ronnie won both in participation and in oddity of story. So we appreciate everyone who participated. Like I said, if you send something in, even if we didn't use it on the podcast, please email us your contact info, and we will get you either a coupon code for a 30% discount on an album submission at CD Baby for participating. Maybe we'll throw in a free single submission as well.
That's generous, Dave.
And some icing on the cake.
So be sure to send us an email. We appreciate it. It was fun going through all the stories, and I hope you enjoyed listening to them. And maybe we'll listen to the episode again and again, because we've all been there. We can all identify with even the ones that tugged on the heartstrings. There was some things in there that everyone can identify with.
Even if you haven't come across a dead pig, headless pig in a bathroom stall, we've all experienced the feeling of coming across a dead pig with no head in a stall. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No.
On that note,
Makes no sense. It's
if
just
you
the right
have
way.
any questions, comments, or feedback you want to give us, and we'll be heading back to the normal format of the podcast, and we have a very, very special interview that will be up next. I can't tell you who it is just yet because I don't want to spoil it, but that'll be coming up, and I'll be at South by Southwest next week. So if you are going to be in Austin, please say hi. If you see me on the streets, I'll be at a panel. Rocket Hub is sponsoring a panel that I'm going to be a part of on Wednesday afternoon. Love to see you there and say hi. So if you want to call us, 206-426-5683. Email us, info@cdbabypodcast.com. And you can leave comments and whatnot on podcast website at cdbabypodcast.com. And we'd still love to get your stories. Those are very entertaining. We'll still share them on the podcast if we get them. You just won't win a contest this time around. So that's all. You guys have something?
No.
Nothing.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Bye. You've been listening to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast, broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, USA.